So today I want to show you how I built this simple math application game. There's not much to it. It's basically just an application where you can cycle through questions and you can answer them. Any correct answers will show up in green. Click next question. You can skip questions. If you get a wrong answer, it will show you the correct answer but in red letters. If you try to answer without using numbers, a little alert box pops up saying it's not a number. Click OK, and then it'll also show you the correct answer in red. So to get started, what we're going to do is I'm going to head over to terminal. I'm going to cd into my documents. Alright, I'm going to make a new folder. We'll just call this one Math Game Demo. cd into that. Okay, and to start, I'm going to create the files. And then there we go. So it should have those in there. Now I don't have Visual Studio Code in my path. No, I don't. For some reason, even though I keep adding Visual Studio Code to path, it doesn't like that. So you come up here, we'll open game demo, and just for good measure, I'm going to do this command again. I don't think it's going to work, but anyways. Okay, so we have these empty files. And what I usually like to do when I start any kind of a new application is I like to get kind of a skeleton set up. I'm going to use mostly vanilla web technologies. I'm not going to use Bootstrap for styles, or I'm not going to use jQuery for JavaScript. It's all kind of going to be just written out. So let me start off with first making sure I'm in my HTML, and we'll do 5 here, and I'll just change the title to Math Game. And then since we have our styles in CSS, I'll go ahead and link it. And then in the body, I'll just link the script for JavaScript. Alright, in app.js, what I'll do is I'll just kind of start off with an alert. Make sure everything is in there. Now I have autosave on, so that's going to take care of that. And then I'm going to start our server here. And as you see, I get the alert for hello world, and then our blank screen because obviously nothing's in it. Alright, so I can go ahead and clear this. And we'll go back to index. And I'm going to start kind of building the skeleton up for this. So in the game, we have this background, which is just a link to an image that I found. We have this container here, and then we have different div boxes set up to contain the numbers, top numbers, and the top numbers and bottom numbers, and then the input fields, and then the submit question here. So I'm going to start off by creating some of the containers, and I'm actually going to name a container, even though this is, if you're used to Bootstrap, you might know that that's a class in Bootstrap, but I'm not going to be using it. It's just going to be something I default to. And in that container, I want another class, and I'm going to call this one number container. And one more in that, one more div inside of there, I'm going to just call this top number. Okay. And so inside this top number div is where I'm going to dynamically place an h1 tag that's going to generate a top number. So outside of this top number, I'm going to have a bottom number. All right. So the number container right here, that's going to contain our top number, our bottom number, and then right below that, I'm going to have another container where this is just going to be the plus sign, because this is just a addition application. Okay. And in there, I'll start off with just an h1 tag that's just a plus sign. Okay. Now, below that, I'm going to have a div that's going to be the bottom line, because it's going to be traditionally like how you would set up a math problem in class, where you have the top numbers, bottom numbers, plus sign, and then a line down where you would submit your answer. So in that bottom line, all I'm going to do is just a basic HR horizontal rule, and that's going to be my bottom line. I could obviously remove the rule and do like another div box and just style that div box to be aligned, but yeah, I didn't want to do that for this one. And so outside of the horizontal rule, what you have next is you're going to have your output answer. I'll just leave it lowercase here. And so inside the output, that's going to be where the answer goes. And now I'm going to have a couple more divs set up where I need to create input boxes and buttons. And this is kind of where the user interface stuff is going to go. I'm going to have these kind of buttons, these input fields, so that when you answer, it's going to be either shown or not shown, and it's all going to be based off of how you're making these the styles that it gets attached is going to be there based off of what state your application's in. So below output, I'm going to have a div that I'm going to call player answer, and inside this div I'm going to have two inputs. I should be able to do this right here. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to actually close these off. First one, type equals text. This next one, type is going to be submit. And I'm actually going to also put a value tag where this one says check answer. And I'm going to give these some IDs actually, so I can select them easier. This one's going to have an ID of answer input, and this one's going to have an ID of check answer. All right. Below this, it's kind of like a form field, really. I'm going to have one called button container. Inside the button container, I'm just going to have a button that says next question. And I'm going to give this actually a class of button. Okay, so that should be pretty much it for the markup, if I do remember. Let me check to see where we're at here. Okay, so you do have these boxes up here, these divs, but of course you're not going to be able to see it because there's no content inside of them. But we do have our div number container, which has our top number, bottom number, div with the plus sign, which just has the h1 inside of it, and then we have our bottom line, which is just a horizontal rule. and then our output container, which right now is just an input field and then a button, and then one more button that is just our next question button. Okay, so I'm going to style this up a little bit just so we can kind of see where these things kind of fit. That way you have more of a context to go off of. So for our body, I'm going to just set some basic overall rules. I'm going to use my color, it's going to be white, for all of the text because I want to change the backgrounds. And then I'm actually going to, let's see here, find an image. Which one did I use? Classroom cartoon images. Let's see if I can find out. As you can see, obviously, here it is. So this isn't something I would put into production. I'm not going to monetize it because these aren't, as far as I know, copyright free. But I needed an image that was big enough, and this one, I kind of like this one because it just had the chalkboard, even though mine isn't kind of directly displayed over. This isn't really optimized too well for like mobile devices or different screen widths, but I'm going to take that, go back to our code here, and I'm going to set that as our background. Not background, it's really background, URL, and then I've got, just paste the link in there, close it off with a semi. Cool. Background size. I'm going to set it to cover because I want to cover the whole entire thing. And background position, I want that to be center. I believe that's pretty much it. Check it here. Nope, and that's because I also think I did center, right? Maybe. No. Okay. I also forgot. No, repeat, center, and this is actually going to be fixed as well. Okay, there we go. So it looks obviously weird. We still got all this up here. So let's go back. And I also set a default font family. It's going to be, I'm going to use Roboto from Google Fonts. So we're going to have to also set that up, and then just a sans serif fallback. So let's go up here. We'll go to Google Fonts, Roboto. And I believe, I don't think I changed any of the defaults. I think I just kind of left it as it is. So let's copy the link here. Go back to our HTML file. Let's go ahead and just paste that in, the head. What else here? I already did the CSS rule set, so we should be good there. So let's see if anything's changed. Alright, now let's go ahead and style the container here. And this is where most of the CSS rules are going to actually live. I wanted this to be a flex container. I'm going to make the flex direction column because I want these things to go from top down, not side to side. I set the width specific to my screen size. You might want to adjust this depending to just 40%. align the items to center, align content center. Oh shit here. Justify content also center. And box. I think I also set box sizing just to remove the margins and paddings. Now the background color, specifically I wanted to have a bluish color, and what I did is I chose this one, 4083. That's just kind of a nice light blue. I also gave this a box shadow because I want it to be more like a card. So 5 pixels by 10, and then one more 20 pixel. And the shadow, I actually had it like a light gray. I think I kind of eyed this one, but I'm going to write this down. Yeah, it's like, well, I guess that's more like a darker shadow, but I don't feel like it looks that dark in the actual application. Margin top 9%, and then a margin left of 30%. Just make this bigger just so you can hopefully see that more. Okay. And close out of here, close out of here. Okay, so you can kind of see where this is taking some shape here, and weird, the horizontal roll is gone. So we got a blue card here, and we also kind of have this background shadow, which is kind of being over-eclipsed by the actual background, the picture. Let's see if I comment this out, you might be able to see it better. Yeah, so it's kind of a darker card, but I like that effect. I'm just going to run these in here really quick. Feel free to follow along. So I'm also going to style the number container. This one we're just going to have a do a position relative and a top. I'm kind of hard coding this 78 pixels. We have the single digit, which this class right here. You'll see why we need this class. I didn't actually name anything single digit in the HTML file. This is going to be a dynamic style that's gonna, and you'll see what we use this for. Basically what this is going to be for, I'm going to attach this to any number in a math problem that only has a single digit to help keep the positions correct, keep the numbers lined up. So that's a single digit. Let's see here. We're going to style the plus sign. And basically the plus sign is just going to have a position, also relative, and then the right, we're going to style that from the right 30%. Okay, and I believe that's it for the plus sign. Then we'll have a bottom line. This one we need a width, and that's width is going to be 75%. I think hopefully that should fix the horizontal rule. It does. So the horizontal rule now is just 75% of the container. All right. What else? Okay, we also need to style our output. And I forgot the class. And the output is going to be just font size of 2 rems, I believe. I'm not sure why I use rems. We're going to have an ID of good answer, and these are also going to be dynamically done in JavaScript. The good answer is going to have color of, let's see, it was a 70FF88. That's for the, when they get a right answer, the color is going to be green, and that font size is going to be 4 rems. I want it to be a big A big set of numbers, kind of like a reward system almost, psychologically. Then we're going to also do something similar with a bad answer. So if they get the answer wrong, the bad answer is going to have a color. Oops, I think I just did just color of red. Nothing fancy there, but that font size I also want to be full rem. We have the button container, and we're almost done with the styles here. I know this is kind of tedious. CSS isn't my favorite, honestly. I'm not as much of a style person as I am just a logic person. I'd much prefer to work inside the JavaScript file, but next time I'll probably just use Bootstrap. It's good to get the practice, though, to work in vanilla CSS. And then we're actually going to style the button itself. The button, I had a border of 1 pixel solid. And actually, I didn't use black. What I used 70 FF8. I used the same color as the correct answer to just kind of stay uniform. That's what it was. All right. I also had a button hover. There we go. So the button hover is going to have cursor pointer. And the button hover is going to be background color of C4 FDCD, and that's a lighter green. Okay. Let's see. There's another style called hidden, and we need this style to hide the numbers from the card. And that's just going to be obviously display none. Okay. I don't want display. There's a difference between using display hidden and display none. If you display hidden, it's going to keep all of your boxes in their relative positions. It's just going to hide the content within. If you have display none, it's going to pretty much remove that from the document object model, and kind of it's going to reset the sizes and proportions based on that. So I didn't want the card to stay high and just kind of pop the numbers in and out. I wanted the card to either grow or shrink depending on whether or not the numbers are being shown. So to kind of clarify that, what I mean, see how there's nothing here. Now if I give a bad answer, the card grows and displays the big red numbers. That's wrong. If I were to just use display equals hidden, it would always be the size. It wouldn't shrink back up. So that's why I use display none over display hidden. Even though I named the class hidden, I know it's kind of a confusing naming convention, but nevertheless, that's kind of the reason behind it. And then I'm going to style a class called player answer. And that background is going to have a color of 00FF F3. It's going to have a light blue, greenish color. That's going to have a height of 100%. And it would help if I added my semicolon here. That's going to have margin auto. Padding, I have that set to 10 pixels. Border radius, I have that as 25 pixels, so I can have kind of a rounded corner. And that's all I believe I did for the player answer, and I don't believe this player answer. Yeah, player answer is this form field, that's right. And that's kind of what we're styling up there. We'll get to the JavaScript a little bit here. Okay, and then we have answer input. That's the actual input field. That's going to be a ID. And the answer input, we just have text align center. And player answer, we have font size of 1.5. And then we have a check answer ID. And the check answer is going to have border radius of 25 pixels. It's going to have box sizing of border box. It's going to have height 3em, and then it's going to have cursor pointer. I believe that's all I did for the check answer box. That's what that ID is for. Yeah, that's the value of the check answer box. So if we look so far, your form field should look like this. Okay. And then after check answer, actually, I believe that's pretty much it for the most part. Let's see here. Next question. Did I miss next question? Oh dear. I started doing the button, but I obviously didn't finish it. So let's go back up and do 25 pixels. I don't know how I've missed that. Height, we have that set to 40 pixels. The font size, we have that set to 25 pixels. Background color, we have that set to a 70 FF8. Okay. The text inside is going to just be white. And then we have actually a transition animation on it. 0.1 seconds, which is ease. Okay, I'm not sure how I missed that. Let's check this out. Good, that's what the button should look like. So it's not, it should kind of, when you hover over it, that's how it should look. So, okay. We're good. Obviously, when we do things in here, nothing's going to happen because we didn't connect any of this. So let's go ahead and hook up now that we've spent quite an amount of time on the CSS. You'll see how all this plays into everything else. So over in app.js, what we're going to do is first we need to grab some of our elements. We need to reference them here and hook them up with the index.html so we can go ahead and manipulate them. And I'm going to let you know most of what we're going to do in the app.js file is actually just DOM manipulation. There's not going to be too many crazy things. We're not going to really have any kind of a data structure, like we're not going to have any arrays or objects. There's not really going to be any kind of loops. We are going to use conditionals like if else, but for the most part, most of this is going to just kind of be just a functional JS file that just manipulates the DOM. So I'm going to declare some variables. We'll have first number, and that's going to be a random number generated by math random. And we want to actually, I'm going to multiply this by 100. And then I'm going to do the same thing here, just duplicate that, so we'll make it as a second number. Okay, and then we're going to have kind of an answer. I'm going to actually call this problem, and that's just going to be first number plus second number. So when you have your random numbers here, you're also going to have already the predestined answer. And this is how we're going to kind of determine if what the player guesses is going to be either right or wrong. Okay, now for the DOM manipulation, we need to grab the top number. And that's going to be just document dot get element by ID. And I'm going to call this actually top number as like this, T number. Okay, now we don't have an element with ID of T number because we're going to generate this dynamically inside these divs, top number, bottom number, I'm going to dynamically insert these H1s, but we're going to do that with JavaScript, and I'm already going to kind of predispose them as the ID top number. So let's get top number, top number container, document dot selector, and we just call that top number. I know some of this might get a little confusing here. I believe I did the same thing, but for bottom number container. Let's equal that, and then bottom number. Okay, we also need to actually reference the bottom number itself. So let me do that, bottom number, and that's going to equal query selector, and that's just going to be kind of how we had T number, except now we're going to have B number. Okay, const answer is going to equal document.get element by ID, and then we have the answer field, and we have const output, that's going to be the output number, document.query selector, and we just call that output, and then const player answer, that's going to, not player answer, player input, sorry, document get element by ID, call this answer input, and then one more, const check answer, which is the button, it's document dot get ID. We call that check answer. All right, so a lot of DOM selection, I know, but this should pretty much link up everything that we have in here, plus a couple of IDs, like this right here, top number, T number, B number. Actually, the B number should be, sorry, it's going to be by ID. I guess it doesn't really matter, but just to keep it consistent with that up there. And I mean, you can even kind of move this up if you want to keep them next to each other, top number, bottom number, top number container, bottom number container, answer output. Okay, so that's pretty much almost top to bottom how we have things right now in the document, in the HTML file. And that's kind of what I like to do. I like to kind of keep things top to bottom just to kind of help me organize it. I don't have any comments written here to let me know what things are written as, but I've already kind of wasted enough time with the CSS. I don't want to go through that. So what we want to do first is we want to hook up an event listener to the button. I got like everything except for the button, I believe. So the button actually is going to be, actually we didn't get player answer either, I believe. So below bottom number container, I'm going to do const player. We do need player answer. That's what it was. I was trying to write it out, but I wanted to keep everything in line, and then I forgot to do it. Query selector, and then we need to get player answer, and then below player answer, that's when we need to get our button, and that's also going to be query selector, I believe, for the class of button. I believe now we have it. Sorry about that. Now let's add our event listener. We're going to listen for a click, and then I would normally use probably ES6, but especially since I'm already using constant lengths, but I don't know, I'm going to go ahead and keep it kind of in a traditional JavaScript pre-ES6 fashion with the function declaration instead of using arrow syntax. But arrow syntax is something you can use, obviously. So for now, let's just log that we clicked the button. Make sure that's hooked up right. Okay, so inspect our source here in our console. Clicked. Good. So it should be hooked up to that button right there. It's what you're looking for. Okay. Now in this file, I'm going to set up some functions. And I'm going to go ahead and declare these functions. Well, first, one of the functions I want to have is a check format. And that's going to make sure that we're actually putting in numbers instead of letters. And we'll write that function out in a little bit here. But inside this event listener, what I want to happen is I want to go ahead and initialize those numbers. So we can just go ahead and say first number, that's going to go ahead and equal actually we can go ahead take this whole first line, and I believe the reason why I had to do this is because the way that the functions were running, the numbers had to be declared up here, but then they also kind of had to be redeclared down here to just kind of keep things running smoothly. Now I know this is repeated code, and that's not normally something I wouldn't want to do, so I might in the near future just go ahead and take this out and make this its own function as well. Same with problem, like I pretty much had to kind of do all this again just to keep consistency with application, because it was having a hard time grabbing these global variables. So when you click it, you want it to you need it to reinitialize as new numbers. You don't want to just keep giving out the new numbers. So what I mean by that, to make it simply, is every time we click the button, we want first number and second number to be a brand new number. We don't want to keep regenerating the same number here. Otherwise, you'll need to have the application refresh pages in order to get a new number. But instead of just putting it down here, every time you click the button, it's going to do kind of a mini refresh on these two numbers. Also the problem, that way first number, second number, the problem is always going to be correct, the answer to first number plus second number. Okay, so we have that hooked up. What we want to do when we click the button is the player answer class. We're going to remove hidden. And you'll see kind of why we need to do this. Alright, we'll stick with that. I'm going to make my actual play function. And it's going to kind of be the initialization of the whole entire application. So in the play function, what we want to do, first of all, we want the output, the answer, that's going to start as hidden. Otherwise, if it's not hidden, then the answer is already given away. By adding this class list of hidden, and I got this bugger on for some reason. If it's not hidden, the answer will always kind of be down here to begin with. And let me see here. If I actually put these in here, okay. Yeah, there we go. That's there. in the output, if this class isn't on of hidden, then the answer is always going to be here. And I don't know why this debugger keeps going on. Okay. So instead of that always being shown, we want to hide this right from the start. And that's where the class of hidden comes in. So in the play function, right from the start, we're attaching the class list of hidden to the output. That way the answer isn't shown right away. And then also, right after that, we're going to do that check format function. And you'll see why we need that to begin with. Now we're going to start off, we're going to dynamically insert the numbers. So in our top number container, we're going to insert into the inner HTML this code. We're going to do h1 id equals top number, or t number, I'm sorry. Okay. And then we're going to interpolate with our strings here, first number, and then we're going to close that off. And similarly, for the bottom number container, we're going to switch this to bottom number, and we're going to change this to bottom number. So now, instead of needing these h1 tags, you can see why we needed those IDs, because we're inserting these dynamically. Okay, and now let's call this function on the very bottom here to see if we can get some output. And what we have, check format's not defined. Oh dear. Take this out for now. We need to add that in later. I forgot to go ahead and remove it. I think I need to remove it from here too. Okay, so bottom number is null. Let's find out why bottom number might be null. Did I misspell something? B number, bottom number container, Let's equal bottom number. Oh, that's why. I wrote that as bottom number, second number. Silly me. And that's just kind of the bugs that I keep running into sometimes. Alright, so now every time you refresh, the first number up here and the second number right here should be always regenerating themselves. And then inside this click button, we want these numbers to be regenerated. And we set that up here. We set the add event listener, and we got these down here. Now what we need to do is we need to make it to where that play function is recalled. Okay. Now, every time I click the button, play is going to run again. And of course, what play does, it resets the output to hidden so we can't see the answer, and it's going to set that top number and bottom number. So now every time I push this, there you go. We're still logging clicked, and also the top number and bottom number is being generated and then dynamically inserted into the HTML thanks to just adding to the inner HTML. Okay. Now this check format, that's going to be whenever we hook up the check answer button. When we hook up that check answer button, we want to compare whatever we put in here needs to equal this answer. And if we don't put numbers, we want that alert box to drop down and to let us know that we're not putting numbers in. We need to put numbers in. So I can go ahead and I can actually go ahead and hook up that button real quick. and just get something going there. Let's see here. That button we call check answer. And that's also going to be click. And run a function. And so just like with the last one, let's log clicked. And just so there's no confusion, I'm going to take out this one because we know that works. Okay. So next question. Clicked. Refresh. Clicked. Okay. So now that button's hooked up. Now in the check answer, like I said, we want to make that alert box come down if we're not putting a number in. I call that check format. Oh no, the check format's for a different thing. I'm sorry. We're not going to do check format. What we're going to do is we're going to create a function called isNormal integer. That's going to take a parameter. It's going to be a string. And all that's going to do, the only thing this function is going to do is to check that check against the answer to make sure that that's actually a number going in. So it's just going to be a regular expression. So just follow along if you're not quite comfortable with normal expressions, but basically, and then 0. And then make sure this is 1 through 9. D times. Close that off. Okay. So in this isNormal integer function, we want to check that, put that up here against the answer field. And so what we're going to do, since that returns a boolean, so we're going to do if isNormal integer. If that's true, and we have to actually give it what we're putting it against, and that's going to be our answer input value. Okay, if that's true, then we're going to do some more code. But first, what we're going to do is alert. That's a good number. Else alert. That's not a number. And the answer input field, if you're confused about the answer input field, answer input.value, what that is, remember we grabbed, hopefully we grabbed, did we not grab? We did not grab. So let's grab const answer input this document dot get element ID answer. We did not grab, but what we should have grabbed is answer input coming from the ID here. It's our input field. So if this input field's value is a number, then we're good. If it's not, it's going to alert that we need to put a number in. So let's test this out. Fresh. So let's first make sure it's a number. That's a good number. And then let's put this in here. And that's not a number. Okay. So that's working how it should. But of course, we want to do more than just see if that's a normal integer. So we can take this out because that's good. And we can take this out. Well, actually, we're going to leave that in. That's not a number. We want to make sure to tell our user that's not a number. But then we're also going to go ahead and just mark it off as a wrong answer. And we're going to show the right answer. But if is normal integer comes back true, Actually, yeah, we won't do anything right now. We'll just leave it there. Okay, so what do we want to do right now? We're going to cycle through. We want these to add up and to show green. Okay. So to do that, we already have the classes set up. That's going to show a green color. It's going to be good answer or bad answer. But we only want to do that based off of a condition that if the answer from the field equals the problem, we add that class. Okay, so let's do another outside here. If answer input value equals problem. Okay. Then we want the player answer class list add hidden. So we're going to attach that hidden class to the player answer. Okay. And we're going to remove the output. So output, we're going to remove that hidden class. But then also we're going to put inside the output the answer. And that's going to equal template strings. We're going to do an h1. And we have to give this an ID. That ID is going to be the good answer. Okay. And then we're going to interpolate here. Answer, change the strings. Good answer, that's going to be problem. And then close that off. Okay, so if the player's answer is equal to the correct answer, then we're going to add the hidden class to the answer field, take away that field, and we're going to remove the hidden class we're going to add the hidden class to the field, take away the field, we're going to remove the hidden class from the output, and then we're going to show the output. Okay? If it doesn't, what we want to do, we basically want to do the same thing. So we can actually just copy and paste this. Let's see, down to here. It's going to be the same. Actually, this is going to be the same as well. Except this time, we're going to attach the class bad answer. Now you should see why. Let's see if this is kind of working here. Okay. Now this still kind of, obviously the bugs here being, we're not moving on to the next question. We're still stuck on this question. So let's see if I put in 118. Actually, it's moving. It's moving. Next question. Let's see. 11. Okay. So there you go. We have a good answer. Well, what we're doing inside the button here is that we're showing and removing this field based off of what state we're in. And that's not a number because I didn't put anything in. So when we answer, no matter what it is, it's going to remove the player answer field and it's going to show the output. And the output is being automatically generated by the JavaScript. So now if you check here, you should see in our container what used to be empty fields is now being automatically added in. And that's coming from the JavaScript file. That's coming from here, these template strings, adding to the inner HTML. Okay. And there's a few more things we can do. I think if you notice, yeah, one thing you might notice is that when this input field isn't clearing, when we submit an answer. And two, in a normal math problem, we would normally not set up a question like this. You would want the 4 maybe to be on the right side. And ideally, maybe you might even flip it around to where it's 68 plus 4, so that way it's not a weird drop down. But what I did is I didn't want to worry about that. What I want to just worry about is make sure that if there's a single digit, it just moves it over to the right, whether it's a top digit or a bottom digit, because even the bottom digit's the same way. You want to move this over to the right so that you're doing 4 plus 4 is 8, and then 5 plus nothing. So this should show up like that. So in order to do that, what I did is we're going to go inside, that's that check format function. And earlier I was confusing the check format function with the is normal integer, because they kind of honestly sound the same. Maybe I should have chose different naming conventions. But the check format, what that's going to do is I want these to run pretty much at the top of these functions. And that way, at the very beginning, it can move those numbers over if they're single digits. So the check format function, I'm going to just make it down here, if I can type. Check format. What I want to do there is it's basically just a conditional function. So we're going to have if first number is less than 10 and let's see, the top number container, its class does not have single digit applied. If that's true, then I want the top number container class to have that single digit class, I'm sorry. And I can't type. Okay. Then down here, what we do, if first number, if that's greater than 9, and top number container dot class list dot contains single digit, then top number container class list dot remove single digit. So what exactly did I do? Okay, so if the first number, being the top number, if that's less than 10, and it doesn't have the class list of single digit, then I want to add that class list of single digit. So if we look now, you can see that already, I'm lucky that it's already getting generated. It's a single digit. It's no longer on this side, it's now on this side. But I also needed to make sure that it got removed, hence why I had to do one more if check if it's greater than 9, because the check format's great, but what was happening, if I didn't have this also second condition, it would get stuck on. Since this page isn't reloading, the class gets stuck, so that even if I had 2 digits, it would still be shifted over to the right. So even though this would be here, like the 31, the 3 would be here, and then the 1 would be on this right side. So I need to make sure I remove the class list as well. And I can actually kind of demonstrate that if I take, let's just comment this out, and I'll show you what I mean. So everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. Let's get a single digit. Single digit. Okay, so we got a single digit. It's 4. Now, you see, it's still staying over to the right. So I needed to make sure that I added that second conditional in to remove the class. And then all I'm going to do, I'm basically going to do the same thing, except this time it's going to be second number, and then this one's going to be bottom number. Oops. Down here. Bottom number. Okay. All right. Now let's check it. Now, no matter what, we should see that both top number and bottom number gets formatted correctly. There. It's still on. Why is it still? Bottom number. Know if I need this. Let's remove this right here. Move this too, obviously. Now let's try it out. Bugs. Okay, it looks like it's working. Okay, so let's make sure the answer functionality still works. It's fine, easy one, so I don't have to do mental math here. There we go. It's simple enough. Okay, it's 14. Here's one. We need to clear the input field. So I believe I actually just created a function that basically did just that. There wasn't really nothing to it, so clear input field. And all that's going to do is take answer input dot value equals just an empty string, and then I believe it is in the should be in the check answer field. Yeah, in the check answer field. The very last thing we're going to do is call clear input field. Let's give that a shot here. 67. Okay, and we're good. It's gone now. So 56. 6. If we do 2, that's a wrong answer. It'll display the right answer. If we don't do if we have not a number, that's not a number. And that's basically it. In the else, let's say after we alert that's not a number, we could also display the problem. I think, let me just copy this on over. This should be the code I want. Let's give that a try here. If I do that, oh no, that didn't work. Yeah, weird. Oh, I think that's why. I have to do more than just output this. I also have to remove the class in the class list. I think that's what I did. So let me just quickly copy all that. And this, I understand this is a lot of repeated code. And one thing you want to do is refactor this and move some of these conditional checks into maybe different functions, because you're basically doing almost the same thing with a lot of the stuff, especially maybe up here when you're recalling first number or second number. It's just doing the math for call one time like it is up here. So that's definitely something you want to refactor. But now, when you do a wrong answer, there you go. It shows that. If you do letters, that pops up, but then it also shows you the wrong answer. So there you go. This is pretty much it. There's more that you can probably do to this. Like we can maybe add like a timer up top that counts down, and at the end of the timer, it calculates how many right answers you got versus how many wrong answers. And then maybe you can even add on top of that kind of a functionality and show progress over time. Like if you start answering questions quicker compared to what you did before in previous rounds, that might definitely be something you can add to it. We can add authentication and create user signups so people can create profiles that keeps track of all these things for them. But as far as the basic functionality, it's all pretty much here. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. It's my first kind of tutorial on kind of a basic math game. There's a couple things I'm sure I could have explained a little bit clearer, but hopefully you got a good gist of how everything is done. Maybe in the future I won't really include creating all the CSS from scratch. I might just kind of paste that in there and then make it available. It's just a downloadable file. So if you like the video, let me know. Make sure to like and subscribe for more. I plan on doing more of these and actually just maybe instructional tutorial videos on JavaScript language itself, HTML, CSS, and other programming languages, and hopefully doing more projects. If you want to give me a list of ideas of things that you'd like to see done or things that you want to explain, just go ahead and let me know. I'll do my best to try to create content on that. All right. Thank you very much.